not attacking me anymore.
Oh, he's like, well, I learned my lesson.
But I think we just need to trim.
I think you're right. Okay, well, you rescue me anyway, so come over here. Yup. He's got it figured out, doesn't he? Okay, you can see how much more light all these other plants have. I have 4 rows of potatoes up in the front. And so these little ones that I popped in here because I was kind of running out of places to put things don't really matter. They're incidental. That you have a turkey for a falcon. There's your turkey falcon. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this.
I guess me and Kai have eaten all the peppers off that.
So there's one. Off this one? Is that why there's no peppers on it?
Yeah. Although there are some more flowers coming out, so.
Ooh. All right. Hopefully you guys can see that. These were russets. Cantaloupe?
Yeah. Pot?
Which garden?
The front one.
How do we get cantaloupe up there?
You know,
How in the world?
The plants in between the squash. You know the ones in between the winter squash? Those are cantaloupe. I just checked. And they're
We
about
need to get our act
big.
together, guys.
Does somebody just take your seeds and just like shuffle them all around?
It was a closed bag. Like, it was not
That would be
opened yet.
unfortunate if it was a closed bag, because I really like that seed company. It should be out in the cabin.
Is it?
In the big poofy bag. Daddy? Can you? I'm not getting any closer on this one. That is our own pig tallow. Not pig tallow. Pig lard. Thank you. I'm not getting closer because it's sparking right now and I don't want it on my camera lens. This is what spring looks like in our house. We've got potatoes that we're pulling out that have either sprouted or need to be fed to pigs. This one is just full of strawberries. I put strawberries in the hotbed because I wanted them to multiply so that I would have enough to plant in other places, which is exactly what they've done. Now I want to put onions and potatoes in here with milk jugs on them. It gives me a better crop than just a strawberry. So I tried a green manure in here last year. I put in clover. And I just wanted to see what I would think of it. If a hotbed needed a, did it benefit in any way? And my summary of the experiences is that no. I rather to put a couple rabbit cages in on top to increase fertility rather than putting a cover crop on. It's just so not necessary. The rabbits do a much better job because on a hotbed that I don't put a cover crop on, I don't have to do any weeding. But now, here I am, finding myself weeding my hotbed of the cover crop. So, that one there is a strawberry. That one is a clover. And you can see those were runners off of our strawberries. Those are babies. And so what we do is we take little fabric pins when we see that they're starting to run. And we come out and we fabric pin the babies down so they're in contact with the soil. All right, this is a hotbed that I never had rabbits on top of. No rabbits have ever fed this bed. It was a completely cold bed. I did it on purpose. It is full to the top of sawdust with no manure in the middle at all. No goat manure layered, no bedding layered, just sawdust. and it never heated up and it never sank. It's the same level that it was the day that I planted it the first time. It has not composted. It is just a whole bunch of, let's see if I can find you some. Down here. It's a whole bunch of sawdust underneath that soil. And because there's no manure, it's a cold bed. It's very cold. Cold to the touch. Alright, these guys are, I don't remember if they're from our garden or from my mom's, but these are Yukon Golds, and I'm going to plant them in. This obviously is not in a greenhouse, so we're going to put milk jugs over the potatoes, and then it'll have a frost cloth on it at night, because it's much too early for our season to put potatoes in. They don't like frost. Milk jug, hole here, hole there. Find your potato again because you weren't paying attention. Alright, so why bother planting just 7? Because in this they'll start faster, they'll be a little warmer than what we could put into the ground, so it'll space out our potatoes. We've already got potatoes in the other greenhouse, well, both the other greenhouses. Now we're putting it in an outside hotbed and we're covering it up to help just a little bit. Alright, what I've done is replanted this bed with strawberries, just much less thickly, much thinner. And we're going to go put some more potatoes in another bed, but first what I'm going to do is get my soaker hose out and get this one set up to be a soaker hose. Right, this bed is 2 pallets long and 1 pallet across, and I have a 25-foot soaker hose. I loop it back and forth so that it goes through the bed 3 times. I use these extra long fabric pins to hold it down. I always run water through a hose before I attach it to a soaker hose. The reason for that is if there's any debris in the hose, it'll clog that little hole in the soaker hose. So I've already cleaned this hose out.
And now
Is there anything inside of it?
there is the
Dirt?
rubber bit. Oh, dirt? No, I didn't see any. Thought you might mean the seal. Please look happy.
So the green hose is the main hose that's coming off the pump. This hose is going to go from this splicer to the next bed and water that bed too. So they'll both be watered at the same time. I try to keep the solid hoses out of the way of the path because if people trip on them, they'll jerk the soaker hose and then it won't work anymore. It can break the soaker hose. But at the very least it'll shift it. And with soaker hoses you kind of have to be precise about placement. Soaker hoses don't work as well with broadcast seeding because you'll have a lot of seeds in between the hoses. They don't get watered as well. So right here I was a little deliberate about how I planted. It's on the side of the potatoes and then it'll run along the sides of the strawberries that I replanted. Alright. It's always easier to set up a soaker hose once there's water in it because it holds its shape better. All right, once again, all the hotbeds are connected by hoses and splitters so that when I turn the pump on, all the hotbeds get watered at once. So I wanted to come in and show you what we got. We've got onions, but in the last video I was showing you planting the potatoes. So I wanted to show you the potatoes. And you can see a little bit of the wool. I need to go turn the water on. I'm a little concerned about turning the water on because it's so cold outside, but there's mushrooms, there's tomatoes. I don't know how well the tomatoes are going to do. They don't really like being in these. Oh, here's another potato. If you put a milk jug over them, they do even better. All right. All right, go ahead. Okay, that's way more than a quarter cup. So we're just fertilizing the onions. Nothing else in here really needs fertilized. This is what I use when I plant, is just a normal slow release fertilizer. But I don't remember. Did you just toot? I don't remember who said this on my live stream. I think it's Prairie. It's Prairie. I'll have to go look it up. It's Prairie something. She told me that I need to water, fertilize. She said I need to fertilize the onions every 2 weeks in order to get big onions. All right, we're in the 40s today, so it's warm enough to lift things up. You can see we have bird netting on it. This is to keep the cats out. That's the only reason we have that there. I don't want the cats going in and pooping. I don't want the cats coming in and laying on top of it, which they totally would do. In here I have lettuce, Swiss chard, carrots, peas, onions. I think that's it. But you can see I have a soaker hose. And it means I can water all the hotbeds at the same time instead of having to walk to each one individually. I wanted to show you what it looks like underneath. This is what a hotbed looks like. This is where we put our kitchen waste, which is paper, any kind of cardboard, paper towels, that kind of thing. This is what it looks like. It's a massive compost pile. And the hay keeps it from stinking because it's carbon.